Hey guys, so today I want to ask you, are your wildlife photography images coming out as sharp as you want them to, or it's just blurry? Do you want them sharper? One of the tips is stop breathing. As simple as that. I'm going to give you 3 tips in this video that will make your wildlife photography photographs super sharp without buying any new equipment, without any technical mumbo jumbo. I promise you, you will take away things that you can do on a day-to-day basis whenever you're out there shooting, and they will be much sharper. Hey guys, this is 𝐕𝐈𝐃𝐄𝐄. I am a fashion and a wildlife photographer, and today I want to speak to you guys about images being less sharp, a tad bit blurry, or they're being focused somewhere else on your image and not exactly the eye or wherever else you want it focused. They're not as you want them to be. So there are 3 things that I do that make my wildlife photography images sharp when I want them to be sharp. And when I say sharp, I mean sharp where I want them to be sharp. So when I want them to be sharp and where I want them to be sharp. That's what I want to speak to you guys about. And the first thing I have to tell you is, what is your shutter speed? You know, this is technical. Yes, it is technical. But at the same time, let's make it simple. If you're photographing anything that's moving, put your shutter speed on 1250, call it a day, you will get sharp images. But then you're going to come back and argue and say, hey, 𝐬𝐃𝐄𝐄, but what about the exposure and what about this and what about that? That is for you guys to figure out. Like I said in the past, I have always shot with 2.8 or 1.4 or 1.8, whatever, and I do play with that a little bit in order for me to get the best shutter speed possible. Shutter speed is very important to get good sharp images. You know, sometimes they say, oh, you can do it at 500 or you can do it at 125th of a second. No, I'm going to say if your subject is moving, especially wildlife, do not go below 1250, because I shoot fashion. In fashion, I sometimes even do 100 of a second or 125th of a second. Not a problem at all. It's in my control. It's a very controlled environment. Over here, you have to worry about the camera shake. You have to worry about animals running back and forth. And here's another thing that people ignore to think, and that is the wind. You know, the wind plays a huge part, at least where I go to photograph. The wind plays a huge part in how stable the camera is going to be, because it behaves, my lens is so long that it behaves like a sail, you know. So when the wind is blowing, it's pulling it into one direction, and every time I'm trying to focus, it's moving and I can feel the movement. So I like to eliminate that by increasing my shutter speeds. I've gone up to 4,000 of a second as well. And that is what I'm going to say to you guys. Make it simple. 1250, that's it. The wind is blowing, if the conditions are horrible, take it up. Keep moving it up. Anything below 1250th of a second, I don't do it. You can go to my website, take a look at my work. I don't shoot anything that's less than 1250th of a second, period. That's it. So that's shutter speed is number 1. And actually, you know, before I move on to the second one, let me speak about shutter speed. So shutter speed, when you are in a snowy background, I mean, in the environment, it's all snow and it's dark and it's gray and it's whatever. To get up to 1250 is a nightmare. What are you going to do? Either you take it up to 1250, open up your f-stop all the way down like I've always been preaching over here on this channel, and then the last resort is to move your ISO higher and higher and higher. And I think these days you can get away with quite a bit with the ISO. So keep your shutter speed at 1250, and let everything else fall into place according to the best exposure that you need. I think that the next thing that I'm going to tell you is, again, simple. Get a super sturdy tripod. You must have a super sturdy tripod. And the reason why I say that is even at 1200 of a second, one may argue and say, hey, Judge, you're at 1250 of a second. Even if you shake, nothing's going to happen. That's not true. That's absolutely not true. Because if your camera is shaking and your subject is shaking, means running or doing whatever the subject is doing, it just becomes challenging to keep your focus on the eye of the animal and make sure that that's tack sharp, right? You're focusing with, I use the back button, so you're focusing constantly, pressing, releasing, or pressing and holding, either or. The thing is that, I mean, if you're hand holding it, I have to be honest with you, I don't know how you guys do it. I cannot do it. Yes, I do work out and I do go and strengthen my muscles before a trip, a month or 2 months before a trip. I do plan for it. I try to be in the best shape possible to if possible, to hold the camera, but it doesn't last for more than a few seconds. I feel the pressure. So a good tripod will help you. And here's another thing that I'm going to tell you what a tripod does. So I was up in Norway and I was caught in between a blizzard. It was going like maybe 45 miles an hour winds and the snow was blowing like insanity, and I had no place to leave my camera. And the reason why is not because I was trying to protect the camera. Yes, I was. But the reason why is that I'm not exaggerating. Literally within 5 minutes or 10 minutes at a time, you were getting anywhere in between 6 to 12 inches of snow packing up. So it was, if I had to leave it down, it would get covered with snow. So where do I leave my camera? I leave it on the tripod, and then you have to worry about the wind dropping it over, right? So a sturdy tripod not only helps you in the field as an assistant to hold your camera, but it also adds to your sharpness of the image, because it has, now you are not really focusing on the camera moving up and down. You're focusing on the camera moving side to side due to the wind. If you don't have wind, you're home free. So tripod is important. Please invest in a good sturdy tripod. Now there are different kind of tripods. Yes, I'm going to tell you, get the one that is super sturdy. And the other thing I'm going to tell you is it should be sturdy at where you shoot. Now I shoot all the way down to the ground, so all the legs are in. I'm no more than a foot, maybe 2 feet up, not even 2 feet, 1.5 at the most. So for me, that is where the tripod has to be the sturdiest. And for the most part, most tripods are sturdy when all the legs are in, right? If you're not comfortable with sitting down and photographing, or kneeling down or laying down and photographing, and you have to stand for whatever reason, then get the tripod that's the sturdiest at that height. Because with all the elements of the wind, the snow, the rain, the this, the that, it will move, right? So shutter speed 1, sturdy tripod 2, and here is something that I'm sure I'm going to get so many comments, because I have been getting comments on the things I say. See, the goal here on this channel for me is to make photography simple. I don't believe in the f-stops and the technicalities and all of that. I really don't. And my goal is to make it so simple that everybody picks up a camera and says, we got it. Right? So you don't have to be a genius. It doesn't have to be a myth, wildlife photography or photography. It doesn't. Just let's make things simple. 250th of a stop for shutter speed, a good tripod. The third one, you really want to hear this? I hold my breath. I hold my breath. That, trust me when I say this to you, your shutter speed, your good sturdy tripod, and you go boom, and you stop, right? You stop. And the only thing that you're focusing on is your eyes and the eye of the subject. And you stop breathing. Simple as that. You come out, you let loose and go breathe, press the shutter again. That's what I've been doing for me. Holding the breath, holding my breath is so important. Because I think it does two things for me. What it does is allows me to focus just between my eye and the animal's eye. That's one. I do that with fashion as well, by the way. I stop breathing when I'm shooting. When the shutter button is pressed down, 𝐬𝐏𝐻 is not breathing. I don't hold it for minutes at a time. I mean, 30 seconds, 20 seconds, maybe. I don't know. I've never done a count. But as long as the shutter button is pressed, I stop breathing. Try it. You know, make a comment. Let me know what you guys think about the breathing aspect of things, because I think shutter speed is something that is out there on YouTube. Everybody's talking about it. That's one advice I gotta tell you. Shutter speed is really important. Tripod, of course, it's I think it's common knowledge that the sturdier the tripod, the better it is. And the more you practice with your tripod, meaning one hand should be on the lens, dipping it, pulling it side to side, right? You move your camera. You don't move your camera from this hand. This hand only controls the buttons. This hand is what moves everything. And that is where you get your best, sharpest shot on a good tripod. Holding your breath. I promise you, hold your breath, hold your breath, I'm laughing at this because it's something that I've never heard anyone speak about. And when I was learning photography, I didn't go to school for it, but when I was learning photography, I don't know who, but I believe that it created such an impact. It was a photographer that I admired. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was John Shaw. I don't know. I didn't learn much from many people. I know John Shaw was my absolute hero, still is. What an amazing photographer. But I learned everything from him, and I applied everything to fashion because I wasn't doing wildlife at that point. And I believe he says it in one of his VCR tapes. Can you believe that? A VCR tape in there. I believe he said, hold your breath. It got into my head ever since. It's become a practice. And I don't ever photograph. None of my photographs that you see, this puma here or the Arctic wolf there at the back of me, I have always held my breath. So it works for me. I mean, it's a myth in my head or it's for real. I don't know. I'm not taking a chance. Never shooting a photograph without holding my breath. So you guys try it out. Let me know if it helps you. And if it does, then do it. And if it doesn't help, let me know in any case. But I'm not going to change that for myself, because it's not just the sturdiness of your body that it stops. It also makes me focus straight into the subject's eye when I hold my breath. Anyway, I hope these 3 tips help you guys a lot. It's helped me. Simple, simple, simple. Let's try and keep things simple over here so it's understandable by everybody. And I will see you guys soon in my next video. Thank you. Bye-bye.